Quick cup of Yorkshire tea while we limber up for today's political hot potato. Now, this place caused aggro. It wasn't supposed to cause aggro. My intention is not to cause aggro when we go to these places. This one, however, caused quite a furor. The place is, or was, the Futurist in Scarborough. Now, I've been on a few days out, family days out to Scarborough. Always had my eye on a place, obviously, explore abandoned buildings. And I take pictures of abandoned buildings because one day they're not going to be there. Now, the architecture, the passion, the money that they put into abandoned buildings, the money they put into old buildings back then, we just don't replicate now. We throw shells up in 2 weeks and there's nothing fancy about them. It's almost temporary. Back then everything was more ornate. They spent a lot of money putting these buildings together, and I think it's important that if we can't save them, that we photograph them for prosperity and for future historic purposes. So that wasn't my intention when I got into photographing abandoned buildings, but that became my intention after a while, especially with the old mills and things like that. Anyway, so I'd seen the Futurist. A few days out in Scarborough, I'd always gone off on my own, told Mrs, oh, you just watch kids, I'm just going to go have a look around this building, see if there was sort of any easy way in. I knew that it were up for demolition. I'd read some things about it. Obviously it's closed, it's going to be demolished. We got a tip-off one night, this 11 years ago. So this is how long I've left it. So most people have not seen these pictures. We got a tip-off from somebody local, which is usually the case. Front door's open on the Futurist if you want to go in. It's not going to be there long. Demolition's being held off while the Save the Futurist campaign is ongoing. However, it's not going to be open for long if you want to take some pictures. So we made a point of going one Sunday. I was at a party Saturday night, so thankfully I wasn't driving. However, I was seriously hungover the Sunday at 5 AM when we set off to Scarborough. It was middle of February, it was lashing it down. It was freezing cold. The weather was horrendous. It was even worse when we got there. We got there about 5. I think we got there about 5. Pitch black, torrential rain, not a soul in sight. There were a homeless guy in a bush shelter who eyed us up. We made his way to the building. Sure enough, the front door's open. So we kind of weren't expecting it, but it was a guy that I knew that tipped me off. A good guy as well. So we went in. Sure enough, it's open. Walked in. Walked through the foyer into the theatre part. All the lights are on, by the way. So all these lights are already on. Now the explanation from the people, council, who wanted to demo the building were the explanation was that the building was falling to bits. It was in disrepair, and it was better being pulled down and being used for something else. There was a Save the Futurist campaign. British Heritage had decided not to get involved in saving it, which would dealt a bit of a blow to the Save the Futurist campaign. So we went in, lights on, place looked immaculate. Like, I don't like abandoned buildings when they're too new. I like to wait till they're 10 years old. You know, they've been abandoned for 10 years. There's loads of paint peel. There's loads of that nice abandonment texture. And interesting shots. Nature's taking over. There's plants coming up out of the floor. Ivy growing in through windows. And that's what makes for an abandoned photograph. And that's really why I do abandoned buildings. I don't go in to try and ruin anyone's business. That's not my forte. I don't do houses. That's too personal. It's more industrial. If it's been left and no one's bothered about the building to the point where it's falling to bits, then I'm game. And I don't see that I'm doing anything wrong. I'm there to document it. I go in, don't break in. I go in. If I can't get in, I'll go home empty-handed. If there's an easy way in, then I'll go in. I'll take my pictures. Try not to disturb anything whatsoever. Don't take anything. Don't move anything. Work my way around the building. Take photographs. Go home. They sit on a hard drive then for up to 10 years, 11 years in this case. So we went in. I'm hungover to hell. I'm stumbling about in a bit of a stupor. We go around, we take these photographs. Nothing wrong with the place, absolutely immaculate, really, and nothing that really wowed me about an abandoned building. The historic side of it was nice, and it was nice to get in and see it, but nothing really abandoned. Kind of made the mistake of going home and posting the pictures the same day. A bit silly, really. This caused a bit of an uproar for the local people. Got to see it. Abandoned Yorkshire Facebook page was very popular back then. Local people got to see it. All of a sudden, I'm getting messages left, right and centre. This place is supposed to be in disrepair. This place is supposed to be falling down. This place is supposed to be in a state. However, it wasn't. The next thing, I've got journalists messaging me. Now, I did get one from an official Scarborough newspaper, a male journalist. Wanted to know how I got in, my side of the story. I smelt a rat straight away, so I held off messaging him. And then another local journalist on a lesser known newspaper, but when I'd done my research, felt more credible. This was a lady. I told her about the other journalist getting in touch, and she confirmed what I thought. He's going to try and make you look bad. He's going to try and make you look like you broke in. He's kind of on the side of the council. I'm on the side of the Save the Futurist campaign, so I went with her angle, and I spoke to her quite a lot, and she put an article out in this newspaper. She sent me a copy. I've got a copy somewhere. Don't know where it is. But yeah, I felt empowered to do something then. However, the council and were trying their best to silence me at the time. I think they'd been left red-faced. This historic place, the Beatles had played there, wasn't falling down. However, they'd been embarrassed. So they were trying to find out my name, trying to accuse me of breaking in, all this, that and the other, which was complete nonsense, and I wasn't one bit worried at the time. because I knew I'd not done anything wrong, and I knew that there was a campaign to save a place. Long story short, the council won. They pulled the building to the ground and put a Ferris wheel up in its place. Great stuff. So this is one of them that it's bittersweet. You know, I'm glad I got to see it. I'm glad I got to leave some people a little bit red-faced. It wasn't a good ending. And this happens to a lot of these buildings. There's money involved with buildings. Greenbelt land that gets built on, you know, there's money. It's always about money. There's backhanders, there's money involved. It's not for the greater good. Mills that mysteriously catch fire in the middle of the night, and then 2 years later there's a housing estate there. It's not caught fire on its own. So you know the score. I'm glad that I do photograph abandoned buildings for that reason. Historically, 10, 20, 30 years from now, these photographs are going to be worth far more than they were when I first took them. We don't see buildings like that. We don't see old mills. We don't see theatres like that. But unless they're repurposed, unless we can do something with them, they are just going to sit there in a sad state of disrepair. And I don't think really there is the money to put into places like this unless somebody comes along privately and buys these places up. It could do with a concerted effort to save these places. However, I don't know that all the internal politics that go on with trying to save a building, so I won't pretend to do. What I do know is what happened with the Futurist. Lovely place, would mean a great deal to people of Scarborough who went as kids and who just get to see a big empty hole there now, or a Ferris wheel will be. But yeah, I don't feel guilty for photographing abandoned buildings. I don't do anything wrong. There is a case for trespass, but that only applies if you're costing a business money. If it's a shabby old abandoned building, I will try and get in. I will try and photograph it while it's still there. I even had a policeman once. I was in Bradford city centre, and I had my camera, just doing some street photography. I got talking to this policeman. Well, he was a sergeant actually, and I told him I'd photograph abandoned buildings. I don't know why I told him, but I told him, and he says, "Right," he says, "we've just gone round an old mill today to see if there are any homeless people in there. We've got reports for homeless people. It's just up on blah blah road. Front door's open. Go in, take some photographs if you break your leg. I haven't told you anything, alright." I thought that was great. He knew what I did. He knew the passion that I had for abandoned buildings. He knew that I wasn't there. You know, I was very open about it. So yeah, unless you're going in, breaking in, stealing stuff, being a nuisance, costing businesses money, then don't bother. But for me, it's for prosperity. Just have something to look back on. And I love photography. I absolutely love it. And abandoned buildings can reflect what I feel when I'm in there. You know, there's a lot to photograph. There's a lot of ambience. There's a lot of texture. So enough rambling about that. The Futurist. We didn't save it in the end, but it doesn't mean that other buildings aren't worth saving. So we'll continue to photograph abandoned buildings, and I hope you keep following me and get to see what I talk about next week. Cheers guys, thank you very much, bye bye.